I changed from, I don't know, maybe I was a bit of a bulldozer blowing through life in old me, where I have this discipline and this drive and this love for math and science. And so I'm kind of, doing something that's more assertive or aggressive. And as I become more of an artist, I find myself becoming more sensitive to the world around me and letting those sensitivities affect me so that I can feel them and express them to other people. I learned to sort of be aware of the energy in an area and be able to share that back with someone.
Welcome to A Change in Story, a podcast about the moments that reshape how we see ourselves and the world around us. In today's episode, you'll hear the story of Mark Winters, who went from being a successful aerospace engineer and businessman to a Texas-based rock singer-songwriter. Mark shares the moment he discovered his joy of performing and how that took him down a road of rediscovering his creative side, specifically his love of writing poetry. He also shares his journey starting over in a whole new field and how he learned to play the guitar and piano and even learned how to sing. After years of dedication, Mark now travels the country making and sharing music with fellow nerdy proton lovers, as he describes it. Take a listen to hear how Mark's transition from the world of science and business to music changed his perspective on himself, his work, and how he shows up in the world. Welcome, Mark. Thanks so much for coming on to share how you made the transition from aerospace engineering to becoming a rock singer-songwriter.
Yay. Thank you for having me, Katie. Excited to share my story and all the twists and turns that took me on the journey.
Well, I guess to start off, can you share a little bit about that initial spark for you where you did decide you were going to make that shift?
Yeah, I'd say, for most of my life, I remember being extremely interested and focused on math, science, applied physics. Had a lot of engineering aptitude growing up, fixing things and whatever else. I remember that as a strong part of my journey, and that probably dominated either athletics or that dominated my childhood and in through my college years. Had this little spark that started on the creative front when I was 5. I don't know. I recall this vivid memory of just waking up out of a daze or a spell in my grandma's sewing room, writing poetry about lilies of all things. It's just a visceral memory of mine when I was 5. Don't know how I got in there, being the rambunctious boy that I was. Somehow I ended up in there. And we've been poetry pals and painting pals my whole life. And so I had this little spark, this little bit of creative energy that she would bring out in me, and we would, nurture, I guess, along our journey. And didn't really do anything other than just sort of shock my friends by every now and then writing them a poem and reading it to them and having them freak out, like, okay, here's Mark, the hard charging guy, the scientist mind. And he's reading me a poem. That's very weird. So other than every now and then that happening, nothing really, on the creative front. And I decided, because music was such a big part of the potentiation of events in my life. I had, tracks to run with and surf with and ride with and play, sports with and study with. And so music always sort of was on for the ride for me, helping bring out, more joy in the things that I was doing. But I never had created it myself. Never had performed it myself. And so I decided, okay, I'm gonna try the thing this year, 2011. I decided I'm gonna buy a guitar and I'll play a song for my wife for our anniversary. Being the goal-oriented guy that I am, like I'm gonna step out there. I'm gonna do it, right? I'm not gonna just casually do it. I'm gonna do it and really get the experience. And so, found a local guitar shop and a guy to teach me to play the song, and crafted a story to cover up me learning with my wife, so she didn't know I was doing it. And And then we showed up to our favorite Italian restaurant, and I ended up surprising her. Went back out to my car, got my guitar, and had the most amazing experience singing a song to her. I didn't even write it, but it was such an emotional connection looking at somebody and singing to them. It was just like 10 times anything I had done with my poetry. And I'm like, I'm hooked. This music thing, it's phenomenal. It's amazing. And so the spark came at that moment. And then I proceeded to apply my engineering and drive discipline to learn the thing, right? You got to learn the thing, which is a whole nother story about how do you learn a whole new thing once you've got a spark like that.
Well, it's pretty interesting that you had that moment with singing, to your wife on your anniversary, and that then triggered this whole new path for you. Some people might do that and then say, "Oh, that was nice," and then just kind of move on, but it literally opened a whole new door for you.
Yeah, it opened up this creative spark in me that I wasn't really listening to, right? I was letting the other part of my brain sort of dominate. I'm ambidextrous, so I do creative things left-handed and engineering and applied things right-handed. And so I was neglecting my left hand and whatever side of your brain that is in that journey. And so, unlocking that for me, my wife would say I became obsessed, right, to learn, right? So luckily, we live in a world where you can pretty much learn anything that you want to if you put your mind to it. It's all out there. I think I bought college music theory 1 and 2 from Udemy, and then watched a bunch of YouTube videos, learned to play the guitar playing John Mayer songs, and I just got on this journey of you have to, I don't know, for me, when the spark hit and I decided I was going to lean in, I was really an accomplished engineer, an accomplished business person. I had all these things that I had learned to do and do them well. And when I decided to be a musician, you have to be, you have to go back to being, not so good at something, right? You have to be terrible so you can be a little bit less terrible. You got to put your 10,000 steps in to learn the new thing. And that was probably the biggest hurdle for me. I'm a very competitive person, and I wanted to just step right into the new me at the same, part in the journey as I was in my previous career. And that's just not possible. You have to put the times in, you got to pay your dues and learn who you are in this new role and who you're not. And so, yeah, that was definitely a different experience I'd never had before.
Mm-hmm. So kind of like beginner mind, essentially.
Yeah. It's like, I like it into like, just let yourself be a kid again, right? Okay, I'm going to open myself up and I'm going to be terrible at the thing, and it's okay. And I'm going to laugh at myself, and I'm going to find my sense of humor, all the things maybe you forget to do as an adult, to like, just let yourself, make mistakes. I guess once you become accomplished in a field, you really don't want to make a mistake, and you've done all these things to learn to not make them. And you have to just sit down and go, okay, I'm going to play my guitar, and I'm playing a terrible version of this song. I'm going to play the piano. Yeah, I'm messing up a lot. I'm going to sing. I mean, you didn't grow up as a singer, Katie. It's like, I don't know. The split in my mind is, if you play an instrument, you can learn, and I think the math and science affinity helps you playing piano and guitar and other physical instruments. And so some of that helps, but singing is like, it's like from another planet, right? It's like, okay, you've never sculpted before. Here's a piece of clay, start sculpting it. You're like, how do I do that? I don't know. It's like, that's the level of incompetence you start with when you've never sung before. And it's such a feeling oriented thing. I found a local vocal instructor to really help me learn. And I'd never had that experience before either. I could always teach myself something, right? But singing was like, wow, I was so new. And once I what did you call it? The beginner mind. Once I unlocked the beginner mind and let myself just be free and do the thing, I really learned a lot. And then I learned, of course, proper technique and everything else. But yeah, that was the hardest step in the whole musical journey. Songwriting was, I mean, I had to learn to do it, but because I've been a poet, there was some overlap and inclination to do the thing. But singing was just a whole new world.
How did it shift making that transition for yourself and putting in all that hard work? How did it shift how you see yourself now?
Yeah, I think a big part of my identity was tied up in version 1 of me, whatever you're going to call that, right? So the engineer, the scientist, the athlete, all these things I grew up sort of forming in my early years and then all the way through my college years. And so I had this persona that was me, and I knew who I was, and my wife married that persona, and here I am doing the thing. And then next thing you know, the creative side of me pops out. And I think when I first started doing it, it's like you feel like it's this weird hat you put on your head, and you're like, it doesn't, this isn't the right hat for me. You're trying to get the styling and the way it sits right. And so it just felt like I was sort of wearing someone else's skin for quite a while. And as it became more and more comfortable, I started expressing myself more. I started becoming more in touch with the people and the world around me. I changed from, I don't know, maybe I was a bit of a bulldozer blowing through life in old me, where I have this discipline and this drive and this love for math and science. And so I'm kind of, doing something that's more assertive or aggressive. And as I become more of an artist, I find myself becoming more sensitive to the world around me and letting those sensitivities affect me so that I can feel them and express them to other people. I learned to sort of be aware of the energy in an area and be able to share that back with someone. I'm a positive guy. I love, my little signature merch is think like a proton, right? So come shine with me. And if you're out for a show, I'm going to try to add a few extra protons to your life so you can take them out in the world and shine them to make the world a better place. But how do you do that? How do you absorb the energy, right? How do you become part of a shared experience? I had to learn a lot of those things that are not part of my previous profession or way of life. And so I had lots of imposter syndrome, Katie, a lot of imposter syndrome until that moment a couple of years ago when I really felt probably when I got back from my spring tour last year. And I had connected with people. I played 60 shows on my spring tour and 60 shows on my fall tour. And when I got back from my spring tour, that was the first long tour I'd ever done. I learned so much being out on the road and connecting with people, but I felt like I belonged. I had enough people who maybe they heard my song on the radio, they came out to a show, or they saw it online somewhere. Some people actually came, they had a group of 6 in New Mexico that came out and they actually sang along with 2 of my songs. It was like, what? And so you start believing in yourself, I think, right? And believing that, you understand the new you and you're listening to that inner voice. And so it took a while before I got to a point where the new me was something that I personally accepted. And then my wife, she didn't marry the musician, right? The touring musician. And so she's been phenomenal and amazing, supporting and nurturing my dream and my passion for this project. And we've had to make a lot of adjustments to figure it all out. But I feel like we're sort of on the other side of that. We're sort of all sort of settled back down into, a new direction that's, still complementary and together. You know what I mean?
And did she go on tour with you?
So think about this. Okay, so I have 2 things to share with you. One is a friend of mine who's a great songwriter in the area down here in Houston, Ken Gaines, told me as I was embarking on my career, do not expect your friends and family to be your fans, which is counterintuitive because when you create a work of art and you pour your heart and soul into something, who do you want to share it with first?
Those people.
Those people. Hello, they're the people that nourish me, right? And so don't expect that. Expect them actually, you don't know, you may not even like the same music. I mean, they may not like your music at all. It's okay, right? You need to find the people who do like your music and who like your message. And those are the people who are going to nurture you. So that was great advice for me. It took me a minute to figure out how to deal with that, because I wanted to share my stuff all the time. And so my wife, she hears me writing music. She hears me playing it. She hears me rehearsing it all the time. It's like, then she goes to the show. In the beginning, she was like at every show, yay, go, 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 right? At some point I had to tell her, look, thank you so much for all the amazing support, but do not feel obligated to come to my show. You hear my music all the time. If I have an important show and I really need you there to support me, then I'll tell you. And so how we worked that out for the tour was we tried having her, she came out for a trial, like just to be on the road with me, I think maybe a month into my first tour. And we missed each other and it was great catching up. But I drive 5 hours a day, drop my trailer, play a show that night, come back, get up, drive 5 hours the next day, every day. So it's every day, every day, every day, every day. And me, man, I'm getting all this tremendous love and energy from the people I'm playing for. And it just resets my energy level every day. For her, she's like, this is not a vacation, right? And so we learned to do two things. One, we love to hike together. And so when I'm out, we find a national forest or a state park. She comes up a week out of the month. I book only 3 shows or 4 shows that week. And then we go hiking for, 3 days together and get a chance to just do fun stuff together. And it resets me. I get to see her. It's, the highlight of my month to have her out, but she only has to go to maybe 3 shows that week. And so we've kind of worked that out. And so we did that in the fall, and we're doing that. I have a spring and a fall tour this year, and we're doing that similar. So she does come out, but it's in a way that works for both of us.
Well, the tour schedule sounds pretty grueling. 60 shows in the spring. So I imagine, how many shows do you tend to do then? Is it one a day, or what is that like for you?
Yeah. So my tour will be 65 days.
Oh, wow.
And I'll play 60 shows. So there are a few days I don't have shows, but for the most part, every day I have a show. Some days I have 2 shows, but most of the time it's one.
And it sounds like you get energy and it keeps you going through the whole thing.
Yeah, I think I never expected that. For me, I've been goal oriented, and in my previous careers, sort of driving to do a thing. I knew what I wanted. I'm sort of very decisive, and so I never looked for refreshment, in my daily life that way. I had this sort of long goal, and I'm delayed gratification was great. In this new me, version 2.0 me, I'm out playing a show. I need it. I need the energy. I need the energy because like you said, it's a lot of effort to do the thing. But I found this stasis for myself where I could just tour. I could probably tour 360 days a year because I get such a great refreshment from the shows I play that I have enough energy to deal with the driving and the rescheduling and the schedules and cutting new songs on the road and booking the next year's tours and doing collaborating with the artists I'm on a ticket with and doing, all the other things that you have to do. But it's all because I'm able to get that freshness from the shows I'm playing.
Does it feel like work when you're doing it?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. When I'm performing, it does not feel like work at all. Mm-hmm. That is not a thing. When I'm doing the other things that you have to do as an artist, so you have to release music regularly, right? Which is great if you're at home and you're writing music and you're in your studio cutting music and whatever else. But it is a bit of a you have to be creative on the road. You have to write your songs on the road, which there's a lot of technology to help with that. But then you have to track it while you're on the road. And so that is a teeny bit like work. Where it really feels like work is, you've got this constant flow of booking requests to book shows. You've got this constant flow of social media work that you have to do to promote your act online and connect with your people. You've got this constant flow of the business side of music, because my project's not large enough. I don't have a manager, I don't have a label, and a lot of people are in the boat who are a lot bigger than me. This career, there's this huge gap between people who are big enough for a label to be interested, people who are big enough for a manager to be interested in, people who have a full band and a production on the road. Even those people, it's become, your acts having to be bigger and bigger to really have that. So for me, all those bits, I know how to do them. I have a background in business, and so that's not a knowledge gap for me. But I'd rather not. I'd rather just create my art, right, and play shows, because I love both of those pieces. So those parts are work, and so you have to stay disciplined on those, and that's probably the hardest part of the reality. I found a way to do it, a lot of it while I'm driving, actually, because AI is just so amazing now. You can just pop your phone up on your dash and start talking to it. And if you're just a little bit smart about building a good, successful system for yourself, then you can use AI to navigate a lot of the work stuff while you're driving, right? Waking up in a new city, going running and surfing and rollerblading out in a new place, and all the beauty of the world and the people you get to visit, and performing, all that is not work at all, but the rest of it is.
Well, I appreciate the honesty that, with any new thing, there's going to be maybe a hard part or a challenge to it. It's not all rainbows and roses, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. I think, it's, and when you're a creative person, I've never had to deal with my creative battery like I have in this line of my life, or this version of my life. I have unlimited drive, man. I can just go, baby. And so I thought, you can just use that to push, which you can, but creativity doesn't work that way. It's got its own little mindset. And I've had to become more aware of when my creative battery is full or empty and how to refill it, because it works in a different way than any other thing in my life. That's another reality that, was hard for me to sort of comprehend until I lived it, But yeah, it's a whole new world. And, probably the other bit that's hard is you pour your heart and soul into. So I write songs often, and I try to curate them with a bunch of people that I respect their opinions with, and I pick the next song or set of songs I'm releasing. Got to release songs every 2 months. You got to stay in the groove, and you do all this work to put a song out and all the things behind it, and you're pushing, and then people don't like the song. You're like, oh God, really? That to me has taken getting used to. And then the song you think people weren't gonna like, they love it, right? And you're like, okay, well, that's weird. So yeah, you never know what people are going to connect with, and that's sort of the unknown. It's the mystery, but also some of the beauty of being in an art form.
Well, maybe kind of on the topic of that, I know you like talking about the idea of following your inner voice or staying true to yourself, which I'm guessing is important when you are songwriting or writing songs, and whether or not it's going to connect to people is kind of a crapshoot, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And you got to stay true to what you want to write. How do you kind of navigate that? And how did you stay true to that as you are making that big jump from engineering into music?
Yeah, I've had I'm hard-headed or strong-willed or whatever it is that sort of goes with that kind of a personality. And so I've always known what I want to do, and what's right in my mind and what's wrong. And, I really am less concerned with rules than I am with my own moral compass, right? And so I've always had that strong compass in my life. When I was doing engineering, I was phenomenal at structural engineering, but I hated it. And so my professor was after me. I made 100 on every exam. He's like, man, I need you to come study, get a master's in this. I'm like, nope, 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 nope. I do not like that. I had an opportunity to work for this cool engine manufacturer out in Florida. I went out for my visit and my interview, and I met their chief scientist, and he told me what he had been doing for the last 20 years, working on this blade segment and this engine compartment. And man, I was like, well, he'd advanced the field, he'd done all this material science work and whatever else. But my brain, I just knew. I'm looking at that, and my visceral response was, wow, I do not have a micro mind like that. I got to have a big picture, macro career. And so just sort of listening to that helped navigate me in my engineering days. As I've become a songwriter, I carry that same compass forward. I'm a positive person. I like to write about, nature, the people I visit. I like to write about science-oriented ways I view the world and how that overlaps with philosophy. But there's this positive, I call it rock with the positive vibe. This is positive energy to me. And so, when I put a song out, I actually have to dial that back, because it can get, preachy. It can get, too in your face. It's how I feel, but it does. If I let that out too much, it doesn't connect. And so I've had to learn to juxtapose my science view of the world with relatable lyrics to tell the story about what I'm seeing. I wrote a song called Speed of Light. It's a nod to Einstein and his theory of relativity, which he discovered riding his bicycle. So for me, I was at a stage when I wrote it, okay, I'm doing the thing, but am I getting anywhere? So it's like a perspective problem, right? And the theory of relativity is all about perspective, right? If you're standing still watching someone ride by you on a bicycle, your perspective is different of them and the world than if you're on the bicycle and you're driving past the person who's standing there. And so I wrote this song about, hey, I feel like I'm riding the same road every day. I'm stuck in this infinite loop and I'm not going anywhere. It's slow motion. But I really am moving at the speed of light. I just don't see it because I have the wrong perspective. And so finding a way to stay true to my voice, which is, that's, to me, that's how I view the world. If I was talking with you about feeling stuck yourself, no, you're actually, if you're doing the right thing, if you've got the right motion, right, you're actually advancing yourself. You just may not see it. And so finding a way to stay true, where I have, I have elements of the way I view the world scientifically, elements of maybe inspiration or contemplation about the world, the beauty in it, or how we can create more beauty in it. Those have been important. Probably the hardest thing is when I sit down I love to co-write with people, right? And we're co-writing about a topic, and it's hard for me to write lyrics in a certain way that might be negative. I have a friend that I write with, and they're just, we might writing a song for them or someone else to sing that is not me, but I don't have some of those elements in my personality that have more of a negative spin to them. So I'm just not the right guy to do the thing. So, staying true to my voice and my beliefs has been something I've had to learn more of, as I'm writing, because I'm sharing it with people and it has to be collaborative. And I go off the deep end sometimes. Like I wrote a song about triangulation, right? And how triangulation is how you can have maybe a little radio, like how you would find your cell phone your navigation system would find it by pinging your signal off of 3 different towers and being able to find out your position because they got the relative speed of the waves that approached you. And so, I wrote a song about triangulation and my journey asking a girl out to dance at the school dance, right? And how my mind was thinking about keeping track of her and moving through the crowd and getting the courage to ask her. And so, it was a bit too nerdy for everyone, but that was, I needed to express that. So yeah, I think if you have your ears open, what your inner voice is telling you. And sometimes you have to translate it in a way to express yourself in the real world. But if your ears are open, then it's a good guide. It's a good compass, right?
Well, I give you credit for tuning in and listening and following. It takes courage to do it. So
yeah, I have a little sextant that I keep up on stage with me that reminds me of where true north is and keeping myself pointed in a good direction.
it's a good reminder then.
Haha.
What comes next for you? When is your next tour? What are you working on next?
Yes. Okay, so I have a spring tour that's starting in Arizona, and that is at the end of March. And then from Arizona, I'm headed west and north up into Canada, and then down the coast of California, and then zigzagging back through the western states to Texas. So I'd love to have people join me out. It's called the Positive Vibes Highway Tour. And so playing lots of cool theaters and listening rooms and just really enjoying myself connecting on the West Coast and the north side of our country and Canada as well. And then I have a fall tour that's headed east, and I make a run down the Gulf Coast up through the eastern seaboard into Canada, and then zigzag my way back down through the eastern states, into Texas. Both tours are about 65 days and about 60 shows each. Just looking forward to being out there, sharing some extra protons with people. I am releasing music, as I mentioned. I have a song coming out at the end of March. It's sort of kicking off the tour. It's a song called All in the Rhythm. And it's a song that I wrote because I lost my wife in Zion National Forest out for a hike. And after I found her and apologized for not paying attention, I started thinking about staying in rhythm with the people around you so that you can experience life at the same time. Like me, it was easy for me to get lost in the beauty and splendor of Zion and just lose track of her. So it's a fun upbeat song, about just staying in the rhythm and living life together.
Well, I'm glad you found her.
Yeah, so am I. I'm glad she didn't kill me when I found her. So yeah, it was good. So that song's coming out at the end of March, and it's all part of an album I'm releasing called The Science in Me. And so I have 4 songs I've released thus far that are a part of that album.
And if people want to check out your music or learn more about you or how to connect with you on tour, where can they go to find out more info?
MarkWintersMusic.com. All things are there. You can find my latest tracks. You can join my email list for some behind the scenes stuff and updates for the tour in your area. And then all the links for my music are there. You can find, your typical streaming links for Spotify and Apple and Amazon and YouTube. And I'd love to have people out and share those protons.
Well, thank you. And thanks for coming on and sharing your story, and congrats on all the touring and the new music. I really appreciate you coming on and just being willing and open to share your experience.
Thank you for having me, Katie. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Be sure to learn more about Mark's upcoming tour dates and his music at his website, which is linked in the episode description. Thanks for listening, and take care.